Amen.
Halloween,
Happy
Halloween.
Halloween.
Happy Halloween. You're going to be watching this after Halloween, but happy Halloween
Right.
to all those who celebrate and to all those who don't. Welcome to setting your clock back an hour in about 2 days. Here in New York City, we got Halloween,
Nice.
followed by Diwali, followed by the marathon, followed by brand
Election
new
day.
election day. We probably should do something on
Yeah.
election day.
Mm.
Make sure your election is sure.
Calling an election
Is
sure out
sure.
here because, yeah.
Yeah. You know, Halloween talks about masks, and we talk about our favorite Halloween costumes, but let's talk about the masks people wear when you start dating. Because let me tell you,
Mm.
I done seen some masks. I
Mm.
done been to the mountaintop.
I don't want some masks too.
Exactly. I done been to the Halloween store.
Yo, let's wait a minute. Can we start the conversation there? Just from a personal
Dr. King?
standpoint. No, I like the personal masks we've worn.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
obviously we come from a strong tradition where men are providers, leaders of the home, right? Do you ever feel like you've had the burden on you to perform at a level that you really didn't have, and you had to wear a mask and act like you knew
Yeah.
what you were doing?
Yeah, because that was the first mask I was going to talk about. So how
Okay.
connected or telepathic you are, sir. Being a man in the era that we grew up in. So let's just define the era as post 9/11 because we both turned 21 that year. You turned 21 about 11 days before 9/11. I turned 21 about 4 days before 9/11. And we were turning 21, which is the legal age to drink. So let's just define that as the adult age. Becoming a man in that post 9/11 era demanded so much because we were going through a recession, and then also we were going through wars, 9/11, and so much happened after that. And it was such a pressure to perform and have in the midst of rising prices. Gas went up, cost of housing went up, and it was, we were already living in New York, so that already had its own pressures higher than most places at the time, almost 24, 25 years ago. And I definitely felt the pressure to have more and be more and show more as far as signaling wealth or capacity, or as Neil Strauss talks about in the book Gain, signaling value. I definitely felt that pressure because if I didn't signal value, I was considered worthless. And if you're worthless, she's on to the next. You're my ex and on to the next. Absolutely felt the mask of signaling wealth, even if it was incorporating other people's wealth into it, trying to show and indicate a certain pedigree with my schooling, my education, the education of people around me, my family history, family legacy. One day all this will be yours. And it's kind of Mustafa the Simba conversation that you would potentially have with someone you're trying to date and mate with, especially if you're trying to go long term. You need to show her why you're better than the other competitors. And going up the hard route of I'm taller, I'm stronger, I'm faster wasn't working for me at that time. So I had to think of other things and put on think of other things and put on a mask of what really mattered to me, hopefully persuading her it would matter to her. And it was really around legacy and what could be and what I'm on a trajectory to become. Even though there's really no promise or guarantee I'm going to become those things. So that's why I consider it a mask. Some people say, well, that's just, you're placing a bet, you're setting your stakes. Cool, but I think it's different when you have to think about what this person's also has to invest in to go along with that.
Yeah. I mean, I was really just talking about even starting from being within the home that you grew up in, where it's like, men have certain roles based on the traditions and upbringings that we have. Men have a traditional role. So it's like, did you ever feel pressured to rise to the occasion or be bigger than you were in the moment, because that's the expectation of
Yes.
men in our community?
Yes.
And that's the reason why I
Yes.
framed it
In
as a
my family
mask,
life, yes.
because
Yes.
a lot of I went to an all boys high school in the middle
So
of
did
Newark,
I. Why not in the middle
and it's
of New
like,
York?
I watched a lot of these dudes hide behind academics, just hide behind achievement.
Mhm.
It's not that they weren't ambitious and they really wanted to achieve these things. It's that these things validated who they were
Of course.
in their community.
Of course.
But we often talk about how boys don't get the kind of emotional attention that they need. So a lot of them, to me, even looking back on it now, a lot of that looked like it was really them performing, wearing the mask of being an overachiever so that they would be validated.
Of course. I'm sure. And definitely had that as a child. And I have to emphasize that word, child. We oftentimes miss the fact that young boys are children, young men and the teens are children. And we place a lot of hope on them, a lot of our future on them. We stake our legacies on them. And you're looking for them to show us at a very early age that they can carry that weight. What do I mean by weight? Let's literally make it analogous to walking to the gym and trying to bench press 400 pounds. But this is your first time in the gym. But I need you to get up to speed in a year to lift 400, which it may take several years for someone to get up to the capacity of benching 400. I mean, you can make incredible gains in a year, but what's that famous phrase? You can overestimate what you could do in a year. You could underestimate what
Underestimate,
you
yeah.
get done in 10.
Hmm.
But we overestimate what boys can get done. These children could get done in a year. So absolutely it makes sense that they put on masks, and I put on masks as well. There was a book I read in high school called Why Am I Afraid to Tell You Who I Am? Forgot the author's name, but it was all about masks and the masks people wear and why they wear these masks and the different types of masks. And that book was great for spelling out masks. And it was written in a very kind of simple style. It was meant to be accessible to obviously high school seniors or a little bit above that college reading level, but it was impactful because it really got into the psychology of why you're wearing that mask and what you're hoping to prove, who you're hoping to attract to you, and who you're hoping people believe you'll become. And masks are dangerous that way because at some point, whether it's the old school plastic and vinyl masks that we used to wear during Halloween or some of these high tech masks that people wear now, that mask has to come off eventually. Can't wear that plastic on your face forever. And when it comes off, are
Mm,
the people that you're attracted to you or the people you're attracted to going to really want to be with who you are when the mask is off?
yeah. And it makes you question, like, what benefit is there to really being 100% transparent? Because, obviously we want to live in our truth and be in ourselves, but like when you're dealing with that doubt, if people are going to accept you and still want to be around you, you like, maybe the mask ain't so bad. Maybe I
Of
faking it till
course.
I make it. Maybe that'll work for me.
Of course, it's actually great to have a mask on because you can become something that you're not and get access to people you normally wouldn't have access to. We've seen this in these classic 80s movies like Once Bitten with Jim Carrey and all these movies where people got elevated into a position they weren't supposed to be in. That famous Patrick Dempsey movie where he had paid the really popular girl for him to become popular, and his whole life turns around in high school. These were the dreams of children and still are the dreams of teens to this day, to go from unpopular to popular, to attract the people that you thought you really want to attract, the hottest people, the smartest people, the jocks, and hang with them. But the problem is, just to kind of fast forward from teens to dating, is when you do that, oftentimes you're palling around or even bonding with people you really shouldn't be bonding with. The only tie you have to them is popularity. And once the popularity fades or the curtain closes, now you're stuck with who that person really is, just like they're stuck with who you really are. And at times, you may not even like who you really are
Yeah.
or who you become with that person.
And that makes you maybe not like who they really are, or you're not able to see the genuine
Mm-hmm.
and authentic gem that they really are because you're not being authentic and
Oh, of
genuine.
course.
Yeah.
Because in some ways, when you're wearing a mask, yes, you're deceiving that person, but you're leaving yourself open to be deceived by that person. In fact, even if that person's being more genuine with you because they don't know you're wearing a mask, you're deceiving yourself about who they are and why they want to be with you. Similar to when people say, well, they only want me for my money, but then you got a bunch of money to have people around you. So which one is it? They only want you for your money, or you got a bunch of money to have people around you? And then it becomes this vicious cycle of almost deluding yourself, hypnotizing yourself into this idea of, well, I need more money, but they only want me for my money. It's this little tension game people play with themselves. Same thing when people say they go out and they sleep with somebody. Well, they only slept with me because I have this. But you said you wanted this to get people to sleep with you. Insert this as a car, a
Mm-hmm.
house,
A
a nice
BBL or
apartment,
whatever.
your
Yeah.
BBL,
Yeah.
your
Whatever.
money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you said you wanted that to get with them, but to have sex or to hook up with a bunch of people. Now you're hooking up with a bunch of people because of that. Now it's an issue,
But you don't like how it feels.
but you don't like how it feels,
I
and
don't
now
want to
you're
be
being.
objectified or yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Now people, and this is how people will rope you in to their, use this popular word this week, emotional garbage. Since that seems to be the word people are throwing around politically and on the right and the left leading up to the election season. People will rope you into their emotional garbage. They'll just bring you right in like a shepherd's hook, and you're swimming around old CDs and used banana peels and cracked eggs.
Right this way to the garbage.
Exactly.
Yeah. To sanitation
Yeah,
row.
your
Right
man.
this way.
Yeah, exactly. You over there like Han Solo and Luke Skywalker in the garbage level of the Death Star, like wondering why. Wait, why am I swimming in all this? Because you've allowed yourself to be caught up in that mask game.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, but I guess based on what we're saying, sometimes it's good to have masks because it can give you access to things that otherwise you may not get that access to. But I guess when it comes to, because there's a deceit element with the masks, right? You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Like if it is a tool that you're using to get you ahead, I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
there's really an issue with it. But when you're using it to get over on somebody, like you said, to loop them into your emotional garbage,
Mm-hmm.
that's when it's an issue.
Yeah.
But let's talk about some of the different masks, some other masks.
Well, related to dating, I think one of
Yeah,
the biggest masks is the mask of wealth, the mask of high value. I think that's a major mask that's midnight marauding right now
yeah,
in our current
facts.
dating scene, thanks to Kevin Samuels and other, I think, red pill authors, and even probably other authors from the opposite side of the spectrum, feminist authors or women authors who are also connected to the red pill community. So let's say authors, let's say creators, because they're not necessarily writing, but they are publishing. I think that's the number one mask we're seeing, the high value mask. I have a lot to offer you materially. I am a high value person. Not only do I have a lot to offer you materially, I have the pedigree, I have the background, I have the community, I have the network, and I have everything you need to feel comfortable, safe, and secure with me. And I believe that's one of the masks that people are parading around. Now, let me make a point here. You can have those things. You could check all those boxes. When we talk about a mask, it's not so much that you have or don't have these things. It's a major problem if you don't have them, though. But if you have them, it can still be a problem. Let me tell you why. If you have a mask on and you have these things, I would say the mask part is you're living your life solely through the expression of those things to the other person. That's the mask. So you can have them and be chill and be cool and be yourself. But some people are basically forging a mask of material value, material wealth, and possessions, putting it on, and they're afraid to really take it off because I'll still have these things, but you won't see me through these things. You'll see me as me. And that I also think becomes a problem as well. And for those who ain't got it, you definitely a bird on a wire.
Yeah. Up Shit's Creek.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. With our
Something that just
paddles.
just
With
came
our
to mind
paddles.
when you was talking about it is like I feel like your society drives us towards that. I feel like there used to be a time when it was okay to just have enough to take care of your family, go on a couple of trips every year and
Mm-hmm.
enjoy a good life. Now it's like everything has to be luxury. Everything's got to be Michelin star. Everything's got to be 5 star.
Yeah,
Everything's got
yeah.
to be first class. And it's like that element is so strong in dating. And I feel like that's the reason why there are a lot of, let me not use the term good men, but there are a lot of average, regular men who may not make a whole lot of money, but they don't feel like they'll be able to take care of a woman because the preferences are so high. Like
Absolutely.
they're not even getting it for themselves. I'm not saying this is every woman who's demanding it, but it's like you can't even provide it for yourself, but you won't even take the 70, 80 grand, the 60 grand, the 50 grand that a dude might make a year, but really be willing to take care of you at whatever level he can. But it's not enough for you because he won't be able to take you to Dubai this year. or he won't be able to get that Birkin bag for you, or whatever YSL shoes, or whatever, the big thing is. I'm just like, it just feels like
Yeah.
luxury is the ticket of the day.
It is luxury is the ticket of the day, but I was taking a step further that again to beat my drum, income inequality being what it is. Someone's drag racing outside. Income
Fast
inequality.
and Furious.
Yeah, exactly. For Halloween, I'm Vin
Dominic
Diesel.
Toretto for, for
Exactly.
Halloween. Man,
The income inequality gap being what it is, people need more money. So some of these gripes and complaints and requests and demands, and there really should be no demands, but they are really rooted in the fact that people are scared they're not going to get ahead, that they can't pay their rent, that they're going to be homeless, they're going to be on the street with private equity gobbling up a good number of the homes, single family homes in America. We have a problem. You can't compete with private equity. So I get some of the gripes and complaints and the requests and the demands. Not saying they're warranted all the time, but I get it. So that's one part. But the second part I want to loop back to in the fact that I do understand it is what Jerry Seinfeld said in a recent rant he had on a podcast where he said, back in the 70s, where does this money thing come from? Now, Jerry Seinfeld got more money than a little bit. What are you, an idiot? To quote Lil C's, he has a lot of money, but he was making a point that back in the 70s, it wasn't about money. It was about what kind of job do you have? Who has the cool job? Who has the significant cool work that I'd love to learn about, be a part of, and eventually maybe even participate in? So being a comedian or maybe being a radiologist or, working for the government at a certain level. There are
high
certain
powered
jobs,
defense attorney, something
yeah,
like
all
that.
that,
Yeah.
who you met because, you're this big time attorney. That meant everything at the time to these people. And the people of that era, we're no longer in that era. No one cares about the cool job. They care about the job that's going to make money. And if it makes money, then it's cool. And I think you're right. We are persuaded or goaded into wearing that high value mask. We are, because we're in a society where it is. I have a friend of mine, Ben, who we talk about this. It's hard to beat group dynamics. If it's 20 of y'all and two people, and you're making a decision to move forward, and the two dissent and the 20 are going ahead with an agenda that you dissent with, what are you going to do? Fight them? Beat them up?
Where you get this 10, I get the other.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah, no,
Not happening.
not happening.
You're not Superman. You don't have these superpowers, so either mind control or physically coerce them into your opinion. Group dynamics are very hard to beat. That's the reason why culture sometimes is hard to beat, because when a bunch of people occupy and exhibit certain characteristics of a culture, how do you war against that when everyone's kind of possessing those characteristics and wants to exhibit them? Same thing I believe you're saying with the high value mask. If that's what everyone's asking for and it's coming from a place of legitimate need, which it is, but it's also coming from a place of wanting to go above needs, where now luxury is now the new demand, which that's unfortunately true too. Where do you sift through it to get to the truth of, well, you do have a legitimate need to pay rent and live in a home, and you're competing now with prices jacked up by private equity versus, well, I got to be in Dubai at least twice a year. I got to be in, Turks and Caicos. I got to be in Okinawa. And now
Don't
people like to
forget Laos.
travel.
Don't
Now,
forget Laos.
that's not Laos. I know people are going to Laos like that. Shout out to Laos. Shout out to Laos.
Yeah.
It's just an unfortunate set of circumstances. Reason why on this podcast, I know both of you and I do our best not to demonize. We do call out and we do critique, but not to just even demonize people, because people are dealing with some really screwed up conditions now. And Scott
Yeah.
Galloway harps on that when he talks about, the state of young men in this country.
Some systemic issues they can't, there's no way that
Yeah,
they have the firepower to
yeah,
deal with that.
yeah. You can't
You know
swim
what I
in
mean?
concrete.
The system is out here flying B-52s, and
Yeah,
you got
and
the
you
first
have
white brothers playing.
AR-15s. Yeah, and if anybody knows anything about warfare, as my uncle taught me, who was in the Marines in Vietnam, whoever has air power wins. You can literally fly over and drop bombs. You can literally fly drones if you want to get into chemical warfare and and wage chemical warfare against somebody. What can I do against a drone that's coming in hot? And I got
Right.
my AR-15 shooting it. Even if I get lucky and get one, there's 15 at a time.
Yeah. And shooting up, you have a worse uh targeting
Yeah, yeah,
than
and
shooting
this
down.
is what
So
young men and young women are dealing with in this modern society with dating when it comes to the high value mask. They want to fight against it. No, I like this person. He's in arts. He's in this. But it feels good when the person you're dating, and this can go for men now too, goes, no, don't worry about it. I got it. And they whip out the credit card. They pay for the date. They pay for the Uber home. And again, men are going through this now where women are doing this for some men. Not all men, but it's happening. And for you, if you're broke and you're working at a nonprofit or you have a low income job and you're barely making ends meet and you just had a great date night and it was all paid for and you have your money in your bank account to pay for groceries tomorrow and pay for gas, to say that doesn't feel good would be a lie.
yeah, you won. You're gonna feel like you won.
And you're going to try and stay in that relationship even though that person was generous. They may not be the best person for you.
And that's a mask right there too that I feel like I see a lot of people wear. The mask of, I don't know, false happiness, acting like they're happy in a relationship that they chose, but they're really not. I feel like
Mm,
that's a mask that I mean, the multitude of female friends that I have will talk to me about this ad nauseum, bro. I don't know. The music outside is pretty loud. A little soca going on. Yes.
do the skeleton dance.
Tin, tin.
That's it. Da da da.
But
Snickers,
yeah,
Snickers,
man, it's
Reese's,
like
Reese's, trick or treat version.
I hear a lot of my female friends talk about this, especially the ones who ended up in open relationships. And they decided to open it up just to appease the man that they were with.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Didn't
mm-hmm,
really want to. And I mean, yo, listen, they say that they'll engage, they'll have their little fun, but it's like, yo, this is not really what I want. My heart is not in
mm-hmm,
this.
mm-hmm,
This is not what I desired from my relationship. But, they're prioritizing trying to do things in service to the man in their relationship.
mm-hmm,
But I
mm-hmm.
feel like, yo, listen, if a situation is demanding more from you than you have to give, that's not an ideal situation for you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the mask of false happiness is interesting because many people are trying to hold on to good situations in their mind, but not necessarily good situations that are good for them.
Say
Go back.
more.
Well, go back to my example. You're with somebody. They're getting paid a decent or even great salary. You're with them, they're paying for everything. You're connecting with them. You meet their family, they meet your family, and you're like, well, what's the use? Why should I wait around for something else? Because something else may just be snake eyes on the green felt table of life. So let me just take my happiness that I have and go with it. Even though you're happy, you may not be really truly satisfied or connected to that person. But because you know you can do worse, you can also do better. But because you know you can do worse, and this is part of the biases and the wiring and the architecture of the human brain, you say, I'm going to stick with this person. I'm going to stay resolute. I'm going to be here and be 10 toes down and say to everyone, oh, yeah, we bought a house. I'm happy. Yeah, you should be happy. No one else can afford a house right now. We have a child. Absolutely, I'm happy. We can pay for childcare. Most people can't pay for childcare now. And you'll keep that mask on, recognizing that it means something to everyone else. But deep down, you have to ask yourself, does it mean anything to you?
And what do you do if that's already legally binded? That's tough.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
Because,
some people will say, yo, your duty is for better or for worse. That's your duty. That's what you vowed to do. Stay and work it out and fight through it and all of that. But yo, this in this age of having needs met and being happy, I think a lot of people prioritize that now. I mean, I think
for sure.
it's easy to get caught up in the idea of the nobility of staying and working it out. It's almost like a badge of honor for some people to see how much they can take in a relationship. Well, no, they cheated on me, but I stayed and I worked it out. Or
Mm-hmm.
they were abusive emotionally, but I stayed and I worked it out. And it sounds really nice to say you stayed and worked it out, but you have known for a long time that this wasn't the ideal situation for you.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
not that
Mm-hmm.
everybody has to hold out for ideal, but I'm talking about even at the foundational level, you were being asked to do things,
Yeah, you want.
overlook certain things
Mhm.
that you knew foundationally compromise what you're about.
Yeah. And I'll take it a step further. And I agree with you. To think about happiness, the mask of false happiness, you may not even be compromised to do things you don't want to do. It's just not a real connection. You really don't
Right.
want to be with this person. If it wasn't
Hmm.
for
The
the
family
wealth,
saying you needed to
the
be.
family pressure, the cultural expectations, whoever's biological clock, and I'm not just talking about women now, because I think men sometimes also
You
move in
definitely have one.
certain, yeah,
You
certain
definitely have one.
ways.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here. And I believe that's a mask that many of us wear because we're trying to meet the goal. The goal set by us, the goal set by others. Sometimes it's all the above.
I think most of the times it's all of the above. But yeah.
Yeah. It's a mixture of expectations coming from myself and others, and you know, it's kind of the eggs are in the batter, and the cake is baked. How do you take the eggs out? So it's hard to decipher or really determine how to separate it, but they're all in there together. What's another mask you think that people wear in the dating game?
That they're okay with casual sex. That's a
Hmm.
big mask.
Yeah.
You meet somebody, and I'm going through this plenty of times in my life where you meet somebody, you tell them, like, I'm not really looking for a relationship. They say, well, neither am I. Y'all end up having fun. And I mean, this has been my experience, but like really literally on the heels of first time being intimate. It's like, yo, what are we doing and where is this going? And it's like, wait a minute, we talked about this and both acknowledged that we weren't looking for anything. And now all of a sudden you saying that I took advantage of you because I knew you liked me. And so, yeah, I think that's a mask too well, I mean, it's kind of like what you said, it's settling for a situation is not for you.
Well, and I'll take it again. Use this term I've used earlier in the podcast already.
Come on, step further
Step further. I'll take it a step further. That's going to be the key call out
for
phrase
the night. That's the title.
there. I'll take it
One
a
step
step. Yeah,
further,
well, I'll take it a step further. Yeah, that is the title of this episode.
like a stepfather.
Yeah, your man of Mafafa. I think it's the mask of apathy. Part of cool culture I've noticed since I was a child is the James Dean bad boy, leather jacket up, like, yeah, I don't care about these rules. Okay, get the 8 ball on, motherfuckers out there, just out there with Alpo in the 80s.
Corner 80s corner boy. You already know.
But that's part of like the cool of I don't care. Will eschew rules or the rules of society. I am a rebel. I'm anti. And I think that cool, even though it gets kind of the temperature, or rather, the volume gets turned down on it as we age. And so, but I think it masks into or forms into, well, it's kind of cool to be apathetic about things, to be nonchalant, to be cool, to be casual. And the moment you're catching feelings, because that's how we use that in a pejorative way. We put a negative tone in it. He or he caught feelings. They caught feelings too quickly. You seem like a simp, a nerd, a spaz, unhinged, crazy. That's a crazy broad. That ain't crazy. He's just too attached. We have these labels for people who want so much more. They wear their heart on their sleeve. They want to connect more. They want to be more involved and deeper with somebody. But I got to put on the mask of being casual. So yeah, you cool, I'm cool. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, you take the Uber home. I don't care. Oh yeah, come over. You got the key to my house. Cool. We boom, 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 boom. I'll leave. Yo, leave when you want to leave. And we just hooked up in the hotel. No problem. You can spend the night here. Not a problem. Everyone keeps it casual because no one wants to be the person who says, "I want and need more from you. I want and need more from myself." And whether it's with you or someone else, I need and want more. Because the part of being cool in this culture is to be apathetic, to be casual.
So crazy Kanye said that.
Oh,
Now,
he did.
to hear for him to
Yeah,
say that,
no, his name is Just be respectful. Yeah, he formerly known as Kanye West. Yeah,
I mean, bro, for him to recognize that and say that, I remember that his tweet coming out and being like, yo, the flex for this generation is that nothing matters, or it's cool to act like nothing matters, like they
yes,
don't care.
yes. I
And
can't
and
believe I'm
that's,
agreeing with
yeah,
him.
that's
One thing I
some
agree with
real,
him on.
that's real though. I mean, I
Yeah,
have seen,
that's
I
the
feel like I've
flex.
seen that probably since my high school days.
Yes,
It's when I started seeing that.
I mean, I think it's part of cool culture. Again, to go with the James Dean, the bad boy, the I don't care, the anti, I'll do the time, I don't give a mother F, and all that other, rah rah rhetoric that goes along with being a tough guy. I think, again, the volume goes down as people ages and it becomes, and it morphs into, I don't care. What does that have to do with me? Whether you're talking about social political issues, whether you're talking about issues of the heart, bonding, loving, mating, it just becomes, if you're the sucker, well, not if, you are the sucker, if you're saying, hey, man, I really like you and I just really want to bond with you. You
Yeah,
got to almost backdoor your way into it. You can't come
yeah,
direct and say, hey, listen, I know we've slept together and I know in the beginning we said we were just going to keep this casual, but I've really developed feelings with you and I want to know, can we take this to another level? No, you can't do that. You got to manipulate and backdoor and snake your way into that position with a person. And this is why people continue to play a lot of games, because if I take my mask off and I show you who I
who I
really
really
am,
am. Are you really gonna like me still?
or are you going to respect me enough to say, yo, I appreciate that, but not, you're going to handle me with care. You're
The
going to
same.
handle my feelings with care. It doesn't have to be, yes, I'm down. It could be a no, but are you going to handle that with care? And
Mm,
odds are you're going to be in somebody's group chat, the butt
talking
of a
about this
joke.
this dude.
This dunce,
Yeah,
this clown talking about,
I gave him a little, just a little bit, a little taste. Now he
it's like,
can't stop calling me. It's like 12 texts a
well,
day. He's
yeah,
calling me like 5 times. It's like I can't get a
or I
break from
broke
this
her
dude.
off, and yo, this is how they get. This isn't the first time, and now you become part of the gloat party on the group texts because you're just another victim. You're
You're a
just another victim.
victim.
So I'm a victim, brother.
You're a victim.
400 years of conditioning. Even my conditioning's been conditioned.
Yeah.
And I think this is why so many people act like everything is hands off, because the moment I care, it's a problem. I can get into other social reasons why that mask is important nowadays, because we live in a culture of punishment. Surveillance is a big thing, as Foucault talked about, and punishment is a big thing. So the moment you don't say the right words, put people in the right category, you can misgender somebody, you can say something that's quasi off as far as race, sex,
Hmm.
sexual orientation.
You're
Now
canceled.
you're going to get canceled or punished. And I think people keep it casual that way. They never really have to care. And if you never really have to care, you don't have to get involved. If you have to get involved, you have to be held accountable or be responsible for what's going on around you.
Yeah. And we're habituated to not like expecting people not to care. We ourselves probably are like that too, but it's like
Oh yeah,
we see it in other people. Like you said, you could really like somebody. I mean, authentically, genuinely, but you're like, I don't think they're gonna care. Not that they're not
oh
gonna
no, it's
feel
the
the
truth though.
same, but me just talking to them, they're gonna act like they don't care. They're gonna be nonchalant, and I'm gonna be the one out here looking like I put myself out there, but they
Absolutely.
won't. They won't meet me halfway.
Absolutely. Oh, I love you. And so, okay.
Yeah.
Even if that person
Aw.
has feelings that are somewhat close to yours, maybe not ready to say it yet, they won't even say that. They won't even give you something to put in that space. They'll just give you space,
Yeah.
silence in
Oh,
that space.
aw. Thank you. Thank you for expressing
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you for
yeah.
sharing
Get
that
it.
with me.
I mean, I see that even at work, where people at times will talk about tragedies in their life or things that are going on. Everyone's just like, yo, okay, business as usual. Keep it moving.
Well, at the workplace, I think it's tough.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, I think these, again, it's just all fits within a certain mask. There's black cats on Halloween.
I had something bad I was gonna say, but you know,
So, yo, you whipping it out on,
got
on the live?
the black pea is out
Yeah,
tonight.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You whipping it out on the live or
ain't,
on the
ain't,
show?
not, ain't nothing like the black pea. But yeah, I think people get afraid to put themselves out there because we're habituated to think like people just they won't care.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no apathy. We're lacking sympathy.
Yeah,
You know
empathy.
what I
Yeah, yeah,
mean?
yeah,
And
yeah,
both.
yeah. Empathy,
There's
sympathy. Mm-hmm,
both. I mean, I feel like
mm-hmm,
there are people who, like you said, it's almost like for them, it's cool to get people roped up in their emotional garbage.
mm-hmm,
But as soon as they have that emotional interaction, they want to step off.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it's like, why did you want to get them riled up in the first place?
Because the only thing that matters is my emotions. So when you come over to my end and you're willing to sift through my garbage to either help clean it up or roll around in it, whichever I prefer, and some people prefer you just to roll around in it. Some people want to need help. Regardless of what they need you for, you're coming over to my territory doing what I need you to do for me in this moment. The moment I need to be responsible and connected to you, no, thank you.
It's a problem.
Yeah, because what if in the process of serving you, you really see who I really am? And then will you really love me? Will you really care about me? Will you
Right.
still want to be around?
You'll see I don't actually deserve the things you're giving me because I'm really not giving them to you. But you're so
Mm-hmm.
caught up in giving them to me. Like, yo, son, this is crazy. I'm thinking about how many times I've been in a situation where I felt like I was, heads down, showing somebody that how I feel about them. So caught up in it that I'm not realizing, like, bro, you're not getting the same in return.
Mm-hmm. 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 Even
And
the
one day you
respect.
look at the very basic level,
Mm-hmm.
and then you look up and you're like, yo, what was I doing?
Yeah, yeah. Nose wide open.
But this is what I was talking about earlier. Sometimes we prioritize or we uplift this nobility or this noble aspect of taking people's shit sometimes.
Of course, because it's about service. And there's that, Mother Teresa, Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. King, you walking through the bridge and they throwing bottles and at you. You're like, no, just hold the line, brother, hold the line.
We shall overcome
Yeah,
and we're gonna
yeah.
move forward. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
no
and
doubt.
those were effective strategies. I mean, the nonviolent strategy of the 20th century, which people have said the 20th century is the most violent century in recent recorded human history. The advent of technology and guns and warfare that all came together in a big, huge, unfortunate, tragic storm. Nonviolence was very effective. So we've adopted that and said, well, maybe if I just keep this posture of loving you and holding this space for you, no matter what you do to me, then it'll work out for me.
Not so. It's not happening that way. But I mean, yeah, like we do. I think we do love the idea of being able to say, like, yo, I'm being empathetic. I'm still showing understanding. I'm leading with love. But it's like, is this the right scenario to be that?
Yes, it may be the right action, wrong
Wrong
context,
context, or yeah, wrong scenario,
wrong person.
or wrong time. And as we know, the right thing at the wrong time
It's
is
still the
still the wrong
wrong
thing.
thing.
Still the wrong thing.
And you have to be mindful of that, because what happens is you burn out on that person. You finally meet a person who's qualified and worthy of receiving it, and you ain't got it for them, because now you have to recharge, reassess, reboot. And if you
Yeah.
get in there before you're fully rebooted, now you're taking out your traumas on them. Now you're questioning the movements that they have and why they're not picking up their phone and why they aren't, coming over on Fridays like they used to. And even though they told you they had a bowling league they're a part of or a basketball game to go to, or that's the
Yeah.
problem with these masks. We definitely
And I
have
was
to
gonna say the consequences of you wearing that mask in relationship A are now flooding relationship B.
be
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. So the mask of apathy, or the casual mask, is a hard mask to wear. Many of us are wearing it because we have to navigate the world, to go back to the problem of group dynamics. If you're in a culture that is doing it all the time, it's hard for you to stand against so many people and not participate or not do it. It is. You have to be really strong, number one. But even with your strength, you have to have a community around you that's going to protect your decision to do the opposite of what the culture is doing. And that itself is exhausting. It's doable. It's definitely an option, but it comes with a lot of energy expenditure that you have to be prepared to expend in order to sustain your position. And in some cases, as they say, increased territory. What I mean by increased territory, meaning you may bring some other opportunities to bear in the midst of that culture for other people and for yourself. So if you're in a culture that is full of people who are living with substance abuse, and you say, I'm just not going to do that, you can do that. And there's people who do that, but then they may want to be able to help people who want to break out of that substance abuse cycle and get help. And so that's what I mean by gaining new territory, being able to do more for the people who are asking you to help them legitimately and really want that help.
With no mask.
No mask, with no masculine. Man,
With
Ice
no
Cube.
Vaseline.
Yeah, exactly.
On that note,
Yeah. Thank you guys for listening. Happy Halloween. Looking forward to the fall season with you guys, continuing to let you guys know that we have some new things in the work, a rebrand in the work that we're slowly but deliberately going through so that we come up with a new approach and a name that's just a little bit more focused and better for you guys. Thank you guys for listening. This is Heath.
What up, y'all? It's Jamie. Have a happy Halloween and be safe out there.
All right, take care.
Later.